You know why most students never get a job in data science, machine learning, and AI space? It's not because that you don't know Python. It's not because your resume is weak. It's because of your so-called projects are nothing but just AI wrappers. Out here, everybody is teaching just one thing, is using an OpenAI API key and then developing a chatbot and then deploying it on maybe Streamlit or somewhere application and then calling it as a project. And let's be real, calling an API and then making a context sort of thing and building a project, that's not a project at all. That's a demo. And to be honest, companies can even smell it in just 5 seconds. But here's the better way. In this video, I'm going to show you that how you can build something that shows real engineering skills, you get noticed by recruiters and companies, and even makes you 80,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees per client. Yes, a real AI product that can actually be sold as a product as well as can actually help you to land a job. So let me show you 2 sites. The first site, which I'm going to talk about, is what actually people are missing. And the second is what we are going to do in this project. So in scenario 1, what are the mistakes that these students usually make? They connect an API, take an input, and then output a thing, and that's what we call as a chatbot. Now here, the problem is there's no UI logic, there's no error handling, there's no user experience at all, no backend, literally nothing. And what I'm going to teach in this, I'm not going to tell you that build your own model. Absolutely not. That's rubbish. So what are we going to work on is an AdSnap Studio. So what this does is you will build a working UI where you can literally type prompts and then it will enhance those prompts and generate images based on the prompt. Multiple parameters will be added, but not the way just calling OpenAI, all these models will be using APIs, but in a way that nobody uses it, which is a polished SaaS application. You can't really generate images, but you can do amazing stuff like using Brias. You'll be automating like converting a text to images, generative masks, erase elements, lifestyle, back shots, and a lot of things, and multiple features out there which we will develop, and a full SaaS polished application. And not just that, what you learn with that is how to structure your code for real teams, how to make your features look more polished, and how to deploy it like a product, not just a project. Here's the best part, that most of the people, what they do, they make your project and then you copy that project and then you put that in a resume. Absolutely not. What we'll be doing, you won't just see it, me doing it. I'll develop a base version of it and then I'll give it to you. I'll show you that how you can add more features, improve the UI UX, and start pitching it to real clients and make this as your own project rather than somebody else's project. So you can actually take the baseline and improve on top of it. And that's why we are going to host a hackathon, that whoever develops the best version of it and then you send it to me, they'll get a prize as well as direct job opportunity from my referral companies and from my own company, Secondary Labs, as well. And this is not for just for your jobs. You can literally sell this product by adding it, your polished version to it, to several clients that can pay you up to $1,000 per client. You can sell it to content creators, e-commerce brand, agencies, etc., and make tons of money around it and showcase it as a real project as well. Because companies love when you build something and then you as well sell it. Then they see that you build something that is actually valuable and you know how to ship something. And let's just stop connecting APIs just for the sake of it. Let's build a real SaaS that can actually get you hired as well as make you money out of it. Let's get straight into the project. Guys, so finally, we're going to start off with our project. Now, this is like an intro video where I want to talk about so that you're ready for the next set of videos which is coming along. Now, what are we building first of all? We're building an AdSnap Studio, which is like a powerful Streamlit application. Of course, I do not come from a web development background, but I will show you that even in Streamlit, how polished things are. So we're working on this project where you can literally generate images, enhancify the prompt, select several options, debug it properly, architect it properly, write the code in a way that actually matters, write a code that is scalable, write the code that follows all the design patterns like defensive and everything. And then we'll do developing several features like lifestyle chart, generative fill, erase elements, and all that. Now, we'll be working through all the features one by one, but I want to just set up this I want you to just set up this project. Go to TopMate link in the description box below, download that particular source code, because I won't be going line by line by line. Absolutely not. That's a waste of time in today's AI era. And I keep on saying this. If some instructor is making go through code line by line and helping you understand each and every line of code, that's a waste of time. We have GPT, we have Claude, we have Gemini, and all these GPT tools, they are up there to explaining you much more better than any of the instructors, even me there. But what can't teach is that thinking process. And that's why you always call this a thinker's approach. So into this, I will not explain line by line and everything. I'll give you a thinking ability and a mindset ability on when we go step-by-step features. Of course, I will go through the code and everything one by one, but I want you to focus more on, I want you to go step by step, understand each and every line of code and see how you can scale this up, which we'll talk towards the end, that how you can add more features and then sell it and even make this as your own unique project. So what are we doing is I wanted to go ahead, install all the requirements which is listed out here, and then create .env file in the root directory. You can go to Bria's sort of application. So if you come over here, Bria.ai, and when you just come over here, you'll be having, I would just want you to click on start now. And when you click on start now, let's just see, you can just go here and then you'll be finding all your APIs keys. So go there, env, and then put this particular thing and then run that. Just make sure the app is up and running because it will do everything for you. Now you can just go to here, my organization, and then API keys are available over here. You can create a new API key, production one, and then use that API key for yourself. Now, that's one thing. Now, one thing which I want you to ensure before we start off is two things. First, I'm not going to go through each and every line of code. Instead, I'll give you a thinking ability and the mindset towards building each and every feature, because that's what I want you to learn. And then I want you to use the GPT tools, etc., like an AI-powered capability. And I always keep on saying this, that you should use an AI-powered capability in order to understand each and every line of code. And that's what will make you a generalizer and will make this as your own unique project. So let's get started with the first feature of ours. So here we go. So in this, the project is divided into several folders: components, services, utils, if there's any utilities, and workflows. And then we have an app.py, which is the main application where it is combining everything, combining as a pipeline. So services are nothing but like features out here in our Streamlit application. Now, what I'm trying to tell is you can, what you can do, you can simply come over here and go through the services, which will of course go one by one in the next set of videos, which is erase, foreground, generative fill and all. Services will act like a features. Workflows is where this is a task for you towards the end, that you'll be using this workflow to create an ad set, because ultimately AdSnap Studio is given a product description, it generates the product snapshots. Components are like image previews, sidebars and everything, which you learn throughout this. And then we have app.py, which is the main application thing. And you'll see how sophisticatedly this everything is written in a way that actually productionized and architectures and everything towards as we go through and learn step by step. But the first thing which you're going to start off with is a services thing. Complete that, and then we go to the app.py, and towards the end what we'll do, I'll give you several things on how you can make this as your own project. So guys, now we're finally on to start our project and actually go through the code. The first tab which we'll be working on is generate images. And in generate images, we have something known as enter your prompt, which is given a simple prompt, let's say for the sake of an example of a cat, and then we click on this enhance prompt. This we should give the enhancified prompt out there, which means, what does it really mean? That given a simple prompt, it creates a stunning prompt which can be used. For example, a close-up studio lip portrait of a fluffy, gray tabby cat with its eyes open and sitting on a wooden table and staring directly at the camera. So what you can do, you can use an API such as OpenAI APIs and stuff like that to develop it. But we'll be using the more powerful model, which is Bria AI API, to enhancify it, because our project idea is we need to be able to create the right product description so that it can create the right product image. And Bria's API exceeds in developing those product demos and graphics and stuff like that. And they have trained their model in that, which eventually surpasses most of the OpenAI and other capabilities. So that's what we're going to use Bria API to be able to develop this. So what I want from you is just go to Bria AI, and click on generate AI images at scale. So when you click over here, you'll be finding several products. So I would want you to go to the products, and probably let's go to AI image generation. And when you go to the AI image generation, there are multiple sort of
APIs which is text to image and reimagine, that you can reimagine. However, we'll talk about it later on, but the thing which we'll be interested in is this prompt enhancement API. So when you click over here, API documentation, we just go to the documentation out here, and then here is everything. So how to use this API and what are the guidance methods and stuff like that. You can go through it. For example, a cat, as I said, has an enhancified prompt. So this is the kind of the way to use it, and I've taken the reference from here to be able to write mine, to write this service. Now we go over here, and here's the service. So if you go to this particular services folder, in that services folder, you have the prompt enhancement.py. I would want you to go there, and let's now go ahead and go code. I don't want to go deeper. You know, you can obviously go ahead and then use tools like OpenAI and stuff like that to explain more better part of the code. What I really want is get you the essence of how you can build such applications, such real world applications and deployable applications to be able to move further. So yeah, so to get started, here's what. So the first one is we import the necessary libraries. We import typing and then import requests and JSON. I would not want you to explain that what it is, but in general, for type hints, that this is going to be type hints, which will eventually state what input is coming and what input is coming, what kind of data which is coming in, and what kind of data which is going out. For example, it says the reason why it says this: the API key, which will be string, the prompt, which is the non-enhancified prompt, which will be string, and other stuff, and then eventually you have this particular thing which is string, which will return the string, which is the enhancified prompt. Now, given that it imports all the things, and then we import the request because we'll be making the API call. So for making the HTTP request or talking to the APIs, we eventually have to import this. Now, because the documentation state that is going to work in the JSON format, so we would be possibly using the JSON as well. Now, going to the next step about the function, which eventually is here, is if we define a function which is called enhancified prompt. We define this function, and it takes the following parameters: the API key, the prompt, and then additional parameters which this particular function might require, and so any extra options which you might want to extend. And this is the most important part of it. The reason why I say this, because you're writing a deployable application, and to write that deployable application, you should be able to write that cohorts, which is any extra options you might be able to want it. I'm not teaching the Python stuff over here, but I hope that you understand it. Now what it does, it returns the string, which is the enhancified prompt. I don't want to get more in detail, but here's the URL. The URL states that we are going to where we'll be sending our request. So basically, this is the model whereby API has deployed their model, the trained model. We have to send this onto this URL, and of course, which you can find the same URL over here. And then the header says, the headers, which means it includes the API key for authentication and tells the server we want the JSON data, which means the API token. And as I've told you that you'll be creating the .env file and then the API key out there. And then you accept it, which is application JSON, and the content type should be also application JSON. So what it does, it includes the API key for authentication and tells the server that we want the JSON data. Then we move further, which is the data is a dictionary with the prompt. So data is a dictionary with the prompt, and of course, if you add and then we add the cohorts. If you want to add more options, if needed, you can add it. It is not needed, but usually it's the best practice. So data, which is the prompt, and then it's a dictionary with the prompt and any extra options which you have is in the cohorts. Then you make an API call, and of course we do with try and accept sort of thing. So what it does, try starts a block. So it starts a blocks to catch any errors if there's an errors. And then what we do, we say that because for debugging purposes, we send a request to this particular URL and what kind of input which is going to, which is the headers in this case. And then we do the response.post because this usually accept the post. And then we send the request .post. And what it will do, it will sense the data to the Braya API, to that API, and the headers is that, and the JSON data which we have collected, which we have the non-enhancified prompt. Then what it does, it prints the response status, which is of course, whether you have succeeded or not, and the enhancified prompt. Now let's say that the result is coming on a JSON format, and you want to get the prompt in the JSON format, because eventually you'll see that you want a JSON as a prompt. And then dot prompt, when you print the whole JSON, you also see the prompt over there, the enhancified prompt. Now it returns the original prompt if the enhancement fails by any chance. Or then we have this error where if there's anything goes wrong, it says error enhancing that particular prompt, and return the original prompt on an error. And so this is what the prompt enhancement pie. And then when you go here, our file, AdSnap Studio, you put it, or maybe let's put a door, and it's a closed studio live portrait of a fluffy gray tabby cat with its eyes wide open. So now what it does, it eventually creates the enhancified prompt using just this service, using Briar's API. Now we go to the next step, which is generation of that image once we have the prompt ready. So let's go on that. So guys, once we have the prompt enhancement, which means a text to a better text, now we need to use that text to generate a good image, which is generate the image out of it. Now you'll understand the powerfulness of the APIs which I'm using instead of some OpenAI or other APIs. So if you come over here and then you go to the something known as text to image, and let's just click on the API documentations, and you just go there, and it's sort of completely free. It does not charge us because it's completely free. You can develop applications on top of it. Now you have two things: generate images base and generate images fast and generate images HD. Now the reason why I say this is so powerful is that it gives you an ability to not just be on a base and fast and HD, but gives you several options to deal with. And not just options, but also gives you several parameters to operate on. For example, when you just come over here, then you have model version, and then the body application, which it will say the prompt you would like to use to generate, which is the input which it requires, how many images you would like to generate. When using any guidance method, please use the value one. The aspect ratio. Now, the aspect ratio, so that you can control a lot of stuff inside it. You can control a lot of parameters inside it. For example, you can choose whether you want your seed, which is so a lot of prompts to be able to, all the parameters to be able to come to a right step. Now, it gives you a lot of flexibility to be able to generate an image which you would like to see. Now, you can try your different options, but what I really tried out in this service is generating an image, an HD image. Now, HD image, this follows the same thing. It does not change, it just follows the same things. So let's just come over here and then see how I've written it. I've written an HD image generation.py and imported the same things. And then this is the function which I'm taking in. And then these are the input parameters. And you see that most importantly, I've written prompt, which is string, the API key, which gets into the model version you want to use it. How many results by default? It's 1. What should be the aspect ratio? What should be the seed? We don't. We just want a random stuff every time. The negative prompt, the steps num. So when you say if you want to know more about each of this, you can come over here and know about, for example, you can come over here to know more about the parameters which is coming inside it. The medium, the prompt enhancement. Do you want to enhance the prompt or not? So we are already doing it, so we don't want to. Do we want to enhance the image? Do we want to add the content moderation, which is some creep image, IP signal and all that? So of course you can tweak these parameters to be able to generate a right image, and that gives us so powerful capability for you to generate such systems. So it's simply, we build the request data, which is what sort of input which this guy requires. And in this case, it requires prompt, number results, sync, negative prompt. And then you add the optional parameters. So you add any optional parameters into that data body by adding this. If steps num is not none, you add it. If text guidance scale, the medium. So basically you just add more things into this dictionary if the optional parameters have been given. And then you reach out to this URL. We're making this model version because you also take this model version as an input. And then you create a header, which is the headers which you want to reach out, which is the API token, the acceptance, then a content type which you want to get, which is the JSON file in this case, and everything remains the same. And then what you get is the JSON format. Now, if you come over here and then let's generate an image, a close-up studio the portrait of a fluffy gray cat, and then you click on generate image, what it will do, it will take some time to generate that image. Now, once it generates that image, we'll download it and we'll see how that beautiful that image would be given the enhancified prompt. Now there are multiple options which I've added, which we'll again come to while we develop our Streamlit application in app.py. As of now, we have not done yet. So when we come to that, I'll just showcase you the powerfulness of that. So basically you can see the number of images. I have added a toggle button so that you can, with usual visual, it looks good. So I've added the parameters, the aspect ratio. Do you want to enhance the image quality, and style options? Do you want it artistic, cartoon, and all that? So what you do, you simply come over here. So this is the this you get as of course you can make it beauty in terms of UI, but you get this option to check this image. Now, if I could show you how that beautiful that image looks is following. Now, this is what it generated an image out of it. So I hope it makes sense. I hope the things make sense. Now we go to our next tab, and of course we'll come to this developing of the whole thing in a bit. But then we go to live step because we want to get it done with the features which we have, and then maybe move to the next step. So now we are done with our first feature, which is generation of an image. We go to our next feature, which is lifestyle shot. Now into this lifestyle shot, we have the following. Now you can upload a file over here, and of course we go to the UI and Streamlit part of it in a bit after we have completed the features, because it's super easy to go ahead and just know about it. Now in the product photography, you just come over here and then you see that I've uploaded that generated image which I have. Now, Braya gives an ability on a lot of stuff. So let's just go to Braya, and what I'll do, I'll just showcase it to you what abilities which we have, and I'm just going to log in into my account and probably just show it to you. So just start now, and possibly because I'm already registered, so it should be already registered. Perfect. So if I go on models, there are multiple foundational models, there are multiple auxiliary models, there are multiple models which you can get the kind of onboarded. Now, we have the following products. Image generation. In image generation, you have a lot of APIs, which is, as I say, the base, HD, prompt enhancement, refine faces, structure, which is reimagine the structure, and all that. And then you can also play it out if you want. And then you have an image editing. Now, if you go to the image editing, you have a lot of stuff over here, which is generative fill, erase elements, it generate background. But what I'm more interested in, because we're building somewhere similar to product snap, which is product shot editing. Now, in the product shot editing, you have the following products out here, which is cutout, pack shot, add shadow, lifestyle shot by image, lifestyle shot by text. So what I'm just first gonna focus on is this pack shot. Now, what is pack shot? Pack shot basically creating the packaging of a particular product. Now, what it does, you'll be using this particular endpoint to be able to write it, and it's super simple, right? But it does not take a lot of ability. Just you don't need to have a right set of ways to combine things together and develop something powerful together. Now, if you come over here, which is packshot.py, and what we'll be doing, we'll be creating a product. Given that image, it will create the pack shot, basically the packaging of this particular cat. So if you click on, we can enable the forced background removal or enable content moderation, but as of now we don't need that. I will just create pack shot, and it will automatically update this particular edited image into more pack shot basis, where it will remove a background and it will create more packaged version of this cat. Now, if you can see that this is a more packaged version, of course, this is a cat, that's why it says like this. But yeah, this is how it looks like. You can have a multiple background colors. I can possibly have different colors out here, and you can play with it. Now, that's the point, to be able to create a very nice pack shot out here. Now, how do you usually create it is very simple, using Braya's API again, using the right set of parameters, which is gives an input using right set of parameters, which is ask for an input, and everything remains the same. For example, you import the necessary libraries, then you create a function, and then you ask for necessary inputs. And then what do? You simply you convert that image into base 4. Of course, we have one word base 64. To convert the image data and decode the image data, basically. So that's why we are using that library base 64, and then we decode that that particular image data in this particular format. And you can see over here that it does as well. Now, because we are decoding, because we want to prepare the request data so that we can put it because no models can accept an image. It accepts the decoded image in terms of the format. So of course, you know about that. Now you prepare the request data, and then the file which you have taken up, the background color, the force RMG, the content moderation, and if you need to add an additional SKU, if it is provided, you can add it. SKUs are units, numbers, and all that. If you're a related product, you'd be able to relate it. Then we put this in try, and again the same thing. Then we pass the request to the URL, the input data and the headers which we have, and then it returns the response body out here. But you might be thinking how it is possibly generating and all this UI thing. We'll talk about it when we reach to a Streamlit application, where we develop this Streamlit application in a bit. But this is about backshot. Now you can add a shadow, literally the shadow. You can adjust an intensity. Let's say that I adjust intensity and then the shadow blur. Do you want to use a transparent? What is the shadow type? Do you want to remove or enable content moderation? What is the X offset, the Y offset? All these are nothing but the parameters which Braya AI gives you an ability to do it. And the same things matter over here. You can simply come over here and then you see that this guy is something like this. Now, this is so powerful that this particular image is created into this. Now, just imagine that you have a product and then you just create in something similar to this, which is insanely powerful. Now, here we go. So you just go to the shadow.py and then everything remains the same. You simply create and add a shadow, you decode a particular image, and then prepare the request data with several input parameters. So you can, of course, look at the documents of Braya's API to people to look at several, because I've done it so well that you can just go through it and then read the documentation, stuff like that. Then you add the image data, which is in over here. And if it is a URL, you just give the URL or if it is image data, you encode that data. Of course, we'll be going to upload it, right? Otherwise, raise an error. It adds an optional parameters, and then it makes a request to Braya's API and returns the JSON format image link. Now, we'll be seeing how we'll be using Streamlit to showcase the images. Of course, this is a prototype which I have built. So yeah, this is the following thing for the shadow. Now, let's say that I want to do something more crazy, which is lifestyle shot. Now, in the lifestyle shot, you have the following. You can either, now what does lifestyle shot mean? You can simply come over here. Let me just quickly show it to you. We have two lifestyle shot by text and lifestyle shot by image. So let's just go to lifestyle shot by text. What does it really mean? That you can place the products in various environments using text descriptions with control over image size and positioning for unique. And that's so much powerful that you can add new things in that particular image at that particular spot. And that is what no APIs can do it. And this is the more powerful. That's why I love Braya on that sense. Now, you have the lifestyle shot by image, which is using a reference image. You can control over the image size and positioning for unique variations in that particular image. Now, what you can do, you can come over here. You can, let's say that I want to have a lifestyle shot into this particular image, which I have uploaded. And this is the edited image, of course. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that add forest in the image with cat. Now, this will generate a very nice lifestyle shot. So let's see how this yields. So it generates, so of course it is generating, but I just want one, so I will not let the number of results. So I would not want, so I just add it to 1, because I just want one response out of it. And then you see that it will update a cat with nothing but an forest in the image with a cat background. Now, here we go. So I think it does not update. What I'm going to do, I'm going to download this particular thing. So let's download it. Let's go to now here we go. So this cat is basically in the forest. Then you also have the reference image. Now you can add a reference image, basically a reference image which you would like it to have. Let's say then you could put any image and then it will just specify the same thing, and then you'll get that particular change. So that's what the lifestyle short, which is extremely powerful. So let's quickly jump in that and then help you to create it. It's super simple. Again, I'm not going deeper into it, just making you understand what each parameter means. Because what I want from you is I want you to go ahead and I want you to look at each examples one by one, each parameters one by one. So I define the first function using a text description. It does very simple stuff. Convert the images to base64, prepares the required data, and then if there's an optional parameters, it adds it, like padding values. How do you want this all to be? Then this gives you full powerful capability so that Braille AI handles itself while developing an image for you. And then we send this. Now, you have the lifestyle shot by image, and then you call this particular model, which is lifestyle shot by image. You convert the images into that particular thing, and the file of the reference, and the file which you would want that to get it to the reference file image, what should be placement type, how many number of results you want, the original quality to be preserved, and all those parameters which Braille API gives to you. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So which Braille's API gives to you. Now, then you do the same. You simply request it and then you get a response body, and then we also handle other cases. This is extremely powerful that you can develop via text as well as the images. Then at last, we do have another feature with not at last, but another one is generative fill, which is insanely powerful feature, which we'll talk about in a bit. So now we finally start with our last two feature, which is generative fill and erase elements project. And these two are very simple because we have already explored a lot about Bria's API and all the APIs which you have used, and it was super simple to use Bria's API in order to be able to develop something. A couple of features which will add more to our AdSnap Studio is generative fill and then our erase foreground, which is erase element sort of thing. So what we will do, I'll just show this to you how the generative fill works. Let's import an image, and what I'll do, I'll import an already generated image. Let's say I'm going to import this particular thing, which is a cat's image, and what it will do, it will upload that image over here. Now, given that it uploads, I just hope so. Still running. Okay. Maybe some problem is here that it didn't really uploaded it. So let's try once again. Maybe it did not. Okay, so we need to refresh it. Perfect. So what really ended up happening that this thing is not up and running. So we need to Streamlit run and then app.py. Let's run it now. And we go to generative fill, and then we put out something like, let's say this seed, this one. So now given that we have uploaded it, what we'll be able to do, let's say that this is the cat which we're going to do with, and we'll replace the cat's face with a dog's face. So I'm just going to put something like this over here. And as soon as I put something this over here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it, describe what to generate in the mask area, replace this cat's image with a dog's puppy image. Okay, you can also tell what to avoid. You can generate multiple variations. You can add seed. You can enable all these parameters, and then you click on generate. Now, once you click on generate, it should be able to put out the right set of things right here. Now, you can simply download this stuff, or otherwise it will show you the generated result over here, which is, of course, it did not really, because it didn't pass the whole thing. But if you see that this tried to do something, but it did not really was able to. Maybe just because we have not masked this area. So let's try to mask the whole thing. And then what to generate dog. Okay. And we generate that again. And let's see. what happens? So I think, you have to be more precise towards the prompt in Bria's. So it's not really yielding the right thing. So let's try to see what's going wrong, because this should not go wrong. Okay, perfect. So this is the docs image, which is, because it was not updated, this is the docs image which this guy has generated. You can also write the docs breeds over here, right? So yeah, when you come back and let's go to our generative fill, and it's super simple. Again, you import all the necessary libraries, you create a function, you take in all the inputs, and all this can be found over here in the documentation section of generative fill. And once you go over here in the generative fill documentation section, you have all these parameters. For example, these parameters which you can pass to, and these are the parameters which you can pass to, and then it goes to this particular URL and then converts the image to the base64, which is the encodes the image. It prepares the request data, and then it adds the optional parameters if added. And then negative prompt is what not to add over there. And I hope that this is pretty clear in terms of what you really want to see. And then it just goes ahead and puts out the JSON file, which has the downloadable link of that particular image. What happens, Bria's does. Now that's it about Bria's API. Now what we have is we have another one, which is erase elements, and erase elements is another powerful one feature which we have recently added. Now into this thing, let's just quickly go and upload this cat's image. And when we upload this cat image, this is your generated one from the previous one. It just assumes. Now let's say that what I want to do, I want to remove this particular thing from here. Now let's do a little bit more, and we're good. So let's say that I say erase selected area. Now it will try to erase that area with something. I mean, it will just erase that particular area. Now let's wait for the result, which just comes to, oh my God, it erased this particular cat. Maybe why? Because some masking problem in the data set, because as you can see that it is not really showcasing the entire cat. But I think what's happening is this particular mask area is literally going on this, and that's why that is not being removed. This is going to be removed. So this is some fixes which we need to do when we go on app.py. We should be able to do it. But it is really amazing that, with the simple thing which happened is nothing but this mask area went on this because of the masking problem, of course, which can be easily fixed. Now that's one thing. So if you go to the erase foreground, again, pretty simple. You give the image data, you give the image the URL. It can take your URL or image data. Do we need to enable the content moderation? And super powerful that you can integrate this into your e-commerce app. There's a lot of stuff can be built on top of it. And then you add your image data, convert it, and then you simply use your erase background from the URL, and then it returns the JSON file as we discussed. That's pretty much it. And we are also printing so that we make sure that there's a debugging thing going on. We were able to, debug it nicely, log things nicely and all that. The reason why is all this important because the industry best practices, and of course, nowadays it's super important to follow these logging practices so that you can know what's happening. What if I show you that, okay, this is what's going on inside it. For example, it starts with printing the environment variable, then it starts with printing under the things, which is super important, which is whom it is making requests to. So you ensure the right URL, the right headers, and the right data is being passed. And this is the status of the thing, so that if something goes wrong, you can actually come here and debug it. We don't usually use print. We use something known as logging as a library. So if you go at logging and Python, let's say I just log in facility in Python, so there's one library which is how to use logging. So logging has a better one, which is you log into debug, you provide some information, you do some warning, you put some error, use some critical. So I would ask you to do all of that thing, which is pretty simple, that you can import the login library or the framework and then use that to debug or show the debugging point of views of every other details. But that's it about all the features. Now, one of our major thing which we'll go towards is how we combine everything in one single page so that which this looks like. I don't want to go super in detail because, as you know, the current AI tools and stuff are there. I will give you a pathway in about 10-20 minutes to be able to understand this app.py, because it's entirely a huge code base of 1,000 lines. So we will try to understand every bit by bit. However, I would ask you to go more in details, more in stuff, so that you understand this more perfectly than anybody else out there. And then I'll outro you with what are the things which you can work on it, what are the things which you can improve, and all that setting using Bria's thing. And of course, not just Bria's thing, you can use any Hugging Face stuff and all that, which we'll discuss after that app.py. So guys, we are now going to start off with our app.py, which is whatever features or services which we have developed, we are now going to put this into this AdSnap Studio project. Now, given this thing which we have over here, what we want to do, I'm going to make you walk through some of the most important parts of this code. However, you might be thinking why I'm not going above all these codes and all. These are all helper functions which we'll use throughout it. For example, we have imported the necessary stuff which we wanted. Then we wanted to set up the page config. Then we wanted to load all the environment variables, basically .env, which we have created in starting. And then we have printing the environment variables for our sort of debugging case. You can of course remove it if you'd like, because that's where you debug it. So of course we can remove all these things which is not really needed. And then you initialize all the session states. So whenever you upload some stuff, everything remains over here, whether it's generated image or API key. That's why the things were remaining over there, because in that particular session, you want the caching to be there. And that's what initialize session state does. And then all these are helpers like download image, if you want to apply image filters, and if you want to check the generated image, right, the auto check images, etc., which you'll of course use, which you'll see in the main function. But the main point which you're going to talk about, and I want you to figure it out by your own of what this code does, because right now AI, that's why I say this is an AI powered course. It is not just a usual course. It's an AI powered course, and very, very few people actually get to, know it. So you could possibly go ahead, put the code into the GPT and try to understand step by step. But what I want to from you is I want you to think from a business perspective, API and layering of the APIs in a way that actually works. Now, here we go. So we start off with the setting of the title, and I would not go too much detail, but we set a title which we wanted, which is AdSnap Studio, and then we initialize the session state. So all the state is initialized over here, right? So that they say session starts. Now we go to our first tab, which is the tab number 0, and then the header of the tab is the generate images. And then over there, what we do, we ask them, okay, enter your prompt, and these are some of the values and the parameters of Streamlit to look good. And of course, I just tried to look good in Streamlit, but however, as I say, this project is just on Streamlit, it's to showcase you the potential. But to convert this into a SaaS and money-making thing, that's all your thing. So what if I say that you store the original prompt in a session state when it changes? For example, whatever the original prompt is, it states when it changes, but actually shows the enhanced prompt. So it shows the enhances prompt over there as soon as you click on enhance prompt. And then it says, okay, enhance the prompt, and then please enter a prompt, and then it shows a spinner sort of thing. The Streamlit has the spinner which spins and then shows you the enhanced prompt. And then we call this enhanced prompt service, which you have developed by giving the API key of Bria's and the prompts. And then you return the prompt enhancement. So that's the prompt enhancement thing, which is pretty easy. And also we are doing this debug sort of thing so that we know that this was original, this was an enhanced prompt, so that I would able to understand what's actually going on. Of course, you can remove all of it out here, which does not really matter. Then we have this generate images, which is we can also generate the particular image. Now over there, we'll be having how many number of images you want, which is basically this lines. What is the aspect ratio? Do you want it to enhance the quality and all that, which acts like a parameter to the Bria's API, right? And then we're using Streamlit applications. For example, there's some styling options. We add style to the prompt, which is how do you want this to be, whether it's realistic, sketch, watercolor, etc. And then you have the generate button. So basically, please enter if the API key is not available, it asks you to enter the API key. And of course, I've added those things because that's what I'm trying to explain to you, that it's not just about looking at just one thing, but also making sure every aspect is handled. That what if the API keys are not there, and all these are production level codes, right? And then it generates your masterpiece, which is using generate HD image. And of course, you can use multiple stuff out here. But yeah, this is the first one. Of course, you see how attention to detail was given, that if the API key is not available, it returns that it put up the API key to be able to for you to perform nicely and return. We are not just writing stuff very quickly. We are trying to make it productionized SaaS applications. Now that's one thing. And then it returns everything, which is image generated successfully from all the results. If it is multiple images, it will return those images PDF file. And then as you can see that we are also putting out the error generating messages and all that. Now, the reason why I'm explaining you all this thing, just give me a second. I need to check. Okay, perfect. So what I'm trying to explain to you over here is I want you to go through the code step by step, of course, but I want you to notice the attention to detail which was given into this code. Then we have our product photography, which is lifestyle shot. And it's pretty simple that we have this uploaded product image, what are the types it can accept. And again, you can see what are the types it can accept, and all these things which you have to design into an architecture. Now, key product upload, and all that, and then you use, and then you actually, there are multiple options in that, which is create pack shot, add shadow, and then if somebody clicks on create pack shot, you have another set of things, right? And then which is first remove background if needed. So we also have the remove background services out there, and it removes the background and stuff like that. And then it creates the pack shot. So you see that how well it is modulated, how well it is pipelined in a way that actually works, and that is productionized the whole thing. And see, it is a waste of time for me to explain step by step in this AI powered world. It is a complete waste of time. If I were to just, write every single line of code and explain you what we're trying to do, it's waste. What I want is take my mindset and do the code and improve on top of it, whatever I have built. Now, the mindset which was it was built upon, that every single detail was edge cases was in the mind. Okay, if somebody clicks on pack shot, he wants it to remove the background. It removes the background, and then we create the pack shot of that particular image. And then we show that if that pack was created, if not, we say the error so that it can help the other people to work around it. Then we have the add shadow. So there are multiple parameters which can be accepted in a shadow. So we give that as an option in Streamlit application itself as a button wise. And then we show the offset to how much shadow and stuff which we need, and intensity, what is the floating shadow, specific controls, and all that. And then it shows the adding shadow as a spinner, so that it shows that something is happening. And of course, if you guys of course want to do this with web development frameworks, which is React and some of the things, of course, you'll be doing way better than me, but whatever I can do with Python and Streamlit, I could have done it. And then you put in all those parameters which was taken in, and then you call the add shadow service which you have developed, and then it added the shadow inside it. And the lifestyle shot, now lifestyle shot can be two things: the text prompt and the reference image, which is given the text prompt or the reference image. Based on that, you have to change that particular or uploaded image. And then you put in all the parameters, which again you want it to be, and then you call your, and of course the placement type is manual padding. This is here in the placement pad. So every single detail was mentioned. And if you want to put a custom coordinates of where you want the product position, again, those things were mentioned. And then that another parameters which was needed. And then if the short type was text prompt, it calls the text one, which is the text, function, text parameter, text Bria's APIs thing, which is generate lifestyle by shot by text. And it also asks, do you want to enhance the description of the text, which is using AI? And you can see that help is equals to, if somebody checks that what exactly a checkbox means, the help is the sort of thing which is written as a placeholder in that particular box is enhance scene description using AI. And then if it is from reference image, then again you have those parameters. Now if short type, you take the text area, which is describe the environment, and then it will generate that particular image, which is lifestyle shot by text. As you can see, there are multiple parameters given, and then you put out all those response, and of course we are giving all that image generated successfully. Now we have another one, which is session state by image. So you can also do by image as well. Now what I want is, I want to go through that each and every line of code. I don't want to go step by step right now, but I wanted to go step by step. Now over here, for multiple images, it's trying to create multiple of images out there. Now if it is upload reference image, it is going to use the lifestyle shot by image, and then of course putting those parameters. And then what it does, it has, if result is there, then you put out as much as logging details as much as it can, and if it fails, then you also put out the things which is out there, which is the thing. And then when somebody clicks on generate image to check for generated image, it's checking for generated image, and then we'll put out all those things there. That's what these code does. And then, and as you can see that we have put in super attention to detail so that every function actually works like a charm. And then we have our another tab, which is generative fill tab, where you can literally mask things out there, and then you get things up and running, and everything is same, which is calculate the aspect set ratio of the particular thing, resize the image, because basically we resize that image to match the canvas dimension, then convert to RGB if necessary, then convert the NumPy array with proper shape and type, and then add a drawing canvas using drawing canvas component that you can brush stuff, and then you create a canvas with background image, which is of course that canvas where you can actually mask things out. And then once you have the mask things out, you can actually call your function, which is convert canvas result to masking, that where to apply, and then you give those mask bytes, basically uploaded image to bytes, and of course you convert that mask to bytes, give that to generative fill, and it will give in the prompt and the service. You actually do that, and then it will get you in, and then it will get you the generated images out there, but of course by doing necessary details. And of course these all are done to be able to see it for generated image, and all the debugging things and all that is here. You can also download images and stuff like that, which is not, of course, which is super important for, if you develop applications. I've tried my best to do it in Streamlit, but of course. And the last tab, which is the erase elements tab, and erase elements tab, where you upload an image and you select the area, which is pretty much same, which is you give the mask bytes, you give where you want to where you want it to be, which is add drawing canvas using Streamlit, and then what is the stroke width and stroke color, and then you try to convert that background into canvas with a background image, and then you give them the option to mask, and then you convert that canvas result to mask. You upload the image to bytes, and then image bytes, the session state, and then you actually the bytes, which was what was the sort of thing to be removed, right? And then you have the option to download that particular image with that, because it is just one image, so we're just erasing it, so it is just one image. Earlier it was multiple images, that's why we had that loop of looping over the lot of images. But that was it. It is pretty simple. If you don't understand any line of code, what I want from you is, I want you to take that code, put that in GPT, and try to understand. But the whole mindset of here is putting up so much of attention to detail, so much of a convenience to users, so that that's why they are able to get things up and running and all that thing. So I hope this makes complete sense. We are done with this project. Now there's lots and lots of things to improve. We can simplify this project much more, because I think sometimes I have complicated it, because for my debugging thing, because I'm a big fan of debugging, so always I need something to be seen, what's happening in the background. You can check things, and of course we'll be having one last video on talking about what can be improved into this particular project. So let's catch up in the next one. So now we have everything developed, which is baseline model, of course, baseline product. And as I promised you in starting, that you will be building your own stuff, your own unique stuff, and everything by your own, without my involvement. So here's the activity for you. What you should do, you should take this particular prompt. You'll find this prompt in, again, the top mid link and everywhere, in the description box below. So what I want from you is feed these GPT, basically open GPT, and open everything over there. So let's say that I open Priya's AI,
and I just go inside it. And when you go inside it, there are multiple sort of products: image generation, image editing, tailor generation, product shot editing, etc., and AI image search. And what I want from you is paste all the features which is available as an API from them. Okay. Now, once you have that, feed it to GPT and say that, okay, this is what Bria's having. Then what you say is act like a creative product strategy, which is act like a Bria API expert. And your job is to suggest what exactly which Bria features to use for these ideas. Now, let's take an example that you give a brand name. So what I want is search for e-commerce brands, search for D2C brands, search for, content creators who can be very beneficial. So search for the companies inside that area. And then what you can do is you can simply go ahead and paste it. So in this example, what I did, I pasted that I want to reach out to a Bliss Club, is a D2C brand selling activewear for Indian women. What they sell is the following. And what I want to do is following is I want to generate gym-based visuals for their products for Instagram and marketplace listings. And it's the company website. Now it suggests me what exactly I could use. It suggests me the Bria features, which I should use. And this gets suggested, these are the Bria's features which you should use. And then why these features? And then you can implement all this just for that. And then what you can do after implementing it, you can post on your LinkedIn, Twitter, and that will act like a project for you where you have developed something real and meaningful for a business. Either they will only super interested to hire you, or maybe their competitors, or maybe the people who are building in that project. And that's how you'll build the stuff, and maybe they might pay you for that. And maybe somebody comes to and asks you, hey, would you like develop something for me, etc., etc., etc. So develop a feature using this. And then you can discuss with GPT to be able to how to make it polished version based on what I've written. You can actually see the code which I've written. Of course, we have talked about the mindset, which is using the right type kings and following error handling, all the stuff, and actually gives you super amazing response on what you should do. For example, you can follow this tech stack and develop. Either you can do it by yourself if you're in machine learning and front-end engineer, or maybe get a friend who is a front-end engineer and then you are an AI engineer. You both collaborated together and worked on this project. It can be easily completed in just a week. And then you can email to the founder of Bliss Club. And then tons and tons of e-commerce companies who would be loving to do it. So what I want from you is go ahead, use this prompt, develop something of your own using the baseline which I've given, and best of luck for the entire thing. Use Bria's, and it is not just Bria's. You can go to Hugging Face, search for models, but Bria's gives you more ability because I love Bria and we're using a lot of it in our intern organization. So that's why I thought, okay, it'd be good to help you out in that. So I hope it makes sense. We are also launching a hackathon. Please feel free to see the description down box below. And I would love to see what you come up with. New stuff, and please tag me whenever you develop a project, and just tag me about that particular company, and I'll make sure to share it with my audience, with my people, so that you get the reach. Thank you so much, everybody. We see you in the next project. Bye-bye.